I'm the most unrealistic realist you'll ever meet. I'm a realist. In an idealistic world of optimistic possibilities, high probability of living with insanity for sanity's sake. See, my memory is constantly failing me. I'm the most unrealistic realist you'll ever meet. I'm a realist. In an idealistic world of optimistic possibilities, high probability of living with insanity for sanity's sake. See, my memory is constantly failing me faithfully, lacking cognitive agility, faltering in flexibility. I'm the most unrealistic realist you'll ever meet. Blindly feeling for ways to fix or find a mind I wasn't fully aware I'd even lost. By all means, please, take this journey with me. Maybe you'll find it for me first, or before I lose more than just my mind. How y'all doing this evening? Hey. I'm so happy, so glad to be up here again. This is home for me, of course, and thank you to Mr. Bernard, thank you, Elliot, thank you, Chef, everybody who told me I needed to feature here at least one time. And Chef, actually, when we talked, I didn't think it would be as soon as less than a week later after that talk, but I was like, oh, okay, I'm game, let's go. So thank y'all, everybody, for having me here. Thank you, everyone who is sitting out here listening and for being here. And every time I speak, it means a lot to me, so I hope I can mean something to you this evening, if even the slightest inspiration in a way. But that piece that I just did, I call it Defiance, because it's a true story as far as things I have going on health-wise. Doctors have told me, like, things will never be the same again. Damage that has been done, it can't be reversed. My memory will never go back to being what it used to be. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm the hard-headed type, so my memory can not go back to being what it used to be all it wants to. But I take that as a loophole. Maybe my memory will be better than what it used to be. So I let that piece, I let my mind write that piece before my hand ever did. And I was home by myself. I went through all the frustrations of what's the next line, thinking the next line, then trying to see if I could remember the line before that. And it was an endless process until I remembered the entire thing before I ever wrote it down. So I just call that me being defiant. But one person who definitely had a lot of inspiration behind me being up on the mic in the first place is my granny, and unfortunately she passed away January of this year. And that was due to cancer. That's what Elliot was speaking on. I had to take some time away, but one of my newer pieces is addressing cancer directly, as if I'm talking to it itself. But I think I'm gonna save that for next time. I kind of want to stick to the pieces I have in my mind tonight. But that gives you reason to come out again. And let's just say it's cancer, so I ain't gonna be nice about it. But thinking of my granny, I also wrote this next piece because of her, because people used to assume that because of my posture or the way I speak, just how I carry myself, must be in the military, huh? No. I'm a military brat, but the military just ain't for me. And I wish people could see the strength and the roots of my family as much as they could see it just in a military status. I have nothing but respect and then some for our soldiers, but it's not for everybody. And I'm one of those people. But this piece is titled Dear Uncle Sam. Make sure I'm not going to hit the mic. About face. By definition, the completion of this command means the entire body is in a position of attention. Thank you for the privilege of giving me yours, and now that I have it, I myself have a command, or rather, an inquiry. But before I begin, let me break free from this militaristic, robotic, stagnant position and slip into the organic body that is the true me. Excuse me, no offense, but the military, my mind has never been equipped to tolerate that. In my inquiry, how is it that others can tell I'm a military brat? I may be addicted to camouflage in the color swamp green, but does that mean that even my smile can't mask my soldier's stone cold poker face? I can't escape my fascination with boots, preferably combats, and I have an annoying tendency to hold my hands behind my back as if I have something to hide. But the only thing I firmly grasp is this pride, like a pistol I can never seem to let go of. and that I'm careful to keep out of everyone else's reach. About face. What is it about this face that writes an open book for others to look and guess? So which one was in the game? Well, all of us. See, us military brats grow up with more than just the benefits and the discipline. We might as well be enlisted ourselves, going through hell and high waters, just hoping the world's chaos will never claim the lives of our loved ones. If only Uncle Sam knew that when he said, "I want you," his wishes were never specific in terms of exactly who he's been pointing to. Or all the innocent people that glaring gaze has been burning through that omnipresent finger still lingers above the roof of our house looking for its next victim, and this is why. Every 4th of July, I avoid his posters people post with patriotic pride because I can't even look this man in his eyes. A two-dimensional dictator who takes your lives now and thanks you years later. If you make it to see that day. Well, now I have something I need to say. So, dear Uncle Sam, I want you to own up to all the wrong that you do. I want you to experience all the hell we've been through. I want you to give credit where credit is due. I want you to see that my strength is hereditary, and I can barely thank the military for the power this heart has been pumping since day one, because within her lifetime, if my granny could lose a house, lose a son, lose her husband, lose her sister, and win her battle with cancer, because yes, 5 years after the diagnosis, I know for a fact that she still won her battle with cancer. It's just time for her to rest now. But with that knowledge, I know that I can only thank the military but for so much, because she is and always will be the strongest person I have ever known. A phoenix risen from the ashes of a burned down house, pushing through the heartache of a buried spouse with faith guiding her footsteps the entire way through. Uncle Sam, I want you to see the strength that runs through these veins as the only thing keeping this gun restrained behind my back. I want you to pledge that we are one nation under God, not under your dictation. I want you to thank God for creating me as a Gemini, because whenever I get tempted to release my weapon of mass destruction on you, all I have to do is about face the other direction. Lastly, I want you to meet my entire list of demands. And about this face, is it even mine or just a reflection of Uncle Sam? Thank you. Thank you so much. I wrote that one actually a few years ago, maybe back in 2012 or 2013. Dear Lord, time flies. But this next piece, if I can remember which one we're doing next, Afraid to Have Sons. Some of you might know this piece. And tonight is gonna kind of be a challenge amongst all of us. We're gonna see if I can just get through all these pieces without looking back at my phone. So let's see just how right these doctors are that my memory is not going to be the same again. This next piece is titled Afraid to Have Sons. I hate classrooms, simply because what I needed to learn most of all could never be taught, let alone contained within four walls or sitting in the solitude of my desk. I learned things best through personal experience. Textbooks never taught me exactly how to be Black in America. I'm somewhat ashamed to say I'm still trying to figure this out. But in this case, of course, I don't blame the school system. How could a teacher even preach a substantial education that couldn't possibly be confined to the limitations of a curriculum that never wavers in our favor in the first place? So yes, it still takes a village to raise a child. I just don't see how this is possible when our kids are deprived of their chance to be children and our parents are being plucked off this planet one by one. And, well, I'm afraid to have sons. I'm afraid of having the next Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, John Crawford, or Sean Bell, just to name a few. I'm afraid of being that mother, dressed in lavish clothing, sitting in the front pew and waiting to see her son marry her beautiful daughter-in-law to be, only to find out that her child, her flesh and blood, her prince, has died at the hands of someone who dares to call himself a man. I'm afraid to have sons. I'm afraid to have statistics. I'm afraid of being the one who has to be realistic about it all. You see, I grew up with a wild imagination, I'm an optimist, an idealist stuck on the idea that this world would someday get better. But I'm watching my hopes and dreams crumble right before my very eyes, watching mankind turn God's blessings into burdens, His grace into garbage, His mercy into malicious murders. I'm afraid to have sons because as big as my sweet tooth is, I know that my sons would like Skittles and sweet tea. I'm a bit of a night owl, and I know that my sons would be just like me. I enjoy strolls down the street, or occasionally an evening jog, but it won't be too long before that jog gets misconstrued to look like I'm running from something. And the worst part of it all is that I wouldn't even see it coming because my tunes, well, you see, my tunes are the only way that I can escape from the world's worries. That's why I'm always in such a hurry, but I am done with our race. My race? Hell no. The human race. I'm tired of running because, damn it, I'm an asthmatic and I ran out of breath a long time ago. The human race is so full of shit that the stench is more like a fragrance now. But I am sick of this race and trying to escape to a freedom that's only promised in national anthems, land of the free, home of the brave. But if you ask me, we are all still enslaved. I am afraid to have sons because I don't have the room. You see, this womb, it has no room for blood that is spilled at the hands of a careless man. For excessive blood flow that is anything but periodic. Enough senseless blood flow to make me psychotic if I'm not already. I'm afraid that a knife would appear to be more menacing than a gun because we all know a blade travels much faster than a bullet. Towards the cop with his finger on the trigger, ready to pull it, or the one who puts my son in a chokehold tight enough to ensure his story goes untold. Officer, I am afraid to have sons. I am a woman scorned and hell has no fury, so before he's even born, I promise you, I'll be the one to give you a reason for holding that gun. Thank you. Thank y'all so much. I'm not really sure how to take the silence sometimes. I'm like, maybe they're just listening really hard. But I hope I'm not too heavy on the emotions tonight. I promise you I could get worse if that makes you feel any better. But hopefully I'm not too heavy for the event tonight. I like to come up and speak my mind, speak about things that frustrate me, just what's real out here in the world, honestly. And excuse me, to get a little more real, I guess I'll go back and forth between general issues, community issues to personal issues. Like, I don't mind being an open book. I don't mind being an open diary because, like, things have gone on with my health that have forced me to be vulnerable, such as I've had seizures on stage before trying to perform. But I bet y'all I finished that poem, though. I am that hard-headed. Like, nothing is going to stop me, even me. As a matter of fact, I feel like I've gotten out of my way since then. Actually didn't start doing features till after the whole seizure hospitalization situation, and I'm still going forward, so nothing's gonna hold me back. This next piece I call Pretty Eyes because you just never know what's behind them. Never judge a book by its cover. Apparently even I couldn't judge myself by my cover, but it's okay, because I'm a work in progress and something tells me most of us are. And here's this one. Couple of questions for you. How do you breathe a sigh of relief and grief at the same time? Or better yet, what exactly do you do when your worst enemy is, well, you? I knew I felt mentally congested for a while now, but damn. By way of a well overdue cranial scan, they said they found lesions in my brain. Brainstem, on my spine and my right optic nerve. I guess that would explain the pain of seeing double vision when glancing to my right. Trouble getting around during the day, let alone driving at night, but no way in hell could it ever keep me away from an open mic. And however cordial it may sound, I would prefer that no one calls me Miss White. The letters MS have never had me so fearful in my life. I wasn't quite sure whether they truly stood for multiple sclerosis or my sanity, because with one, it seemed like I lost the other. So much of my life came to a screeching halt that I didn't even know who I was anymore. But I found myself. in room 6184, the Marion Suite of Palmetto Health Richland's Heart Hospital. Seizure-like activity meant that whenever I tried to move forward, my legs would get weak. So if I wanted to stand up, he said, "Have a seat." Opposition was met with an inability to speak, and if I even thought I could stay on the go, my body involuntarily said, "No." And at this point, I could not write. I couldn't read. I couldn't work because I could barely see. Couldn't perform because I could barely speak. So restless that I could barely sleep. Stayed nauseous so I could barely eat. Dropped pounds with every round of life's card played in this deck. No lifeguard to save me just yet from drowning in tears that freely flowed behind these pains in my neck, back, head, and my eyes, as much as I wanted to look to the skies and scream, "Why?" I had no choice but to be patient. He took my mobility and my voice, the same voice that I struggled to even find as a child, so I stopped, considered the significance of it all, and realized it was about time I be still and watch God move for me. Through blurry vision and dizzy spells I've never seen so clearly in my life. MS now stands for a milestone. A minor setback that simply set me up for a major comeback. Every lesion is another reason for me to appreciate the passing seasons. MS is my story. Written by me and edited by my God, whom I give all the glory. My name is Shatoya White, and I have multiple sclerosis, but it doesn't have me, because Infinite Array is more than her diagnosis. Thank you. Promise I'm almost done and out of your way. That piece I actually started writing while I was in the hospital. I mean, I couldn't really go anywhere, do anything, just wait for nurses to come in and out of the room, doctors, whatever, what have you. And so I'm like, well, if I can't do anything else, I'll at least write. Kept my phone charged, and whatever was on my mind, I just let it out. And so I just kind of feel like it was sort of a breakthrough for me, and I'm happy for it. I'm grateful for it. This next piece is kind of like the counterpart to Afraid to Have Sons. It wasn't until my lovely, gorgeous little niece that I finally had the inspiration to write something for young Black girls, or just girls in general, depending on the part of the poem. But it just so happens to be my niece's first birthday today, and I'm so happy. So I'm excited to do this piece, and I don't know if I've ever done it without holding my phone right in front of me, but we'll see how this goes tonight, and hopefully I do it justice. It's titled, Never Too Soon. How soon is too soon to have a serious sit-down with her? My niece, that is. Lately, it seems like every other piece I write is inspired by her, but she's worth it. She deserves it. She's earned it simply by existing. But again, how soon is too soon to have that talk? The one that's more important than the birds and the bees, because at least they fly free, but we as Black women, our wings are constantly clipped so easily. I mean, I don't want to rob her of any innocence, but ever since Sandra Bland turned up dead instead of being given a ticket for her taillight, I want to tell her that it's all right to be a woman who knows her car. That the most random knowledge can take her so far, and so far, I've learned to change the lights in both cars I've ever owned. If I want those cops to leave her alone over something so petty, I will gladly show her how to do the same. When do I tell her that creativity is hard to come by, so a lot of people might mispronounce her name since it's not as plain as Sarah, Lizzie, or Becky, and that she'll only grow more aggravated with every rendition of it as she grows older? Would it be all right if I told her about my past so that she can do better? Tell her that some cops make bad decisions, and the best thing to do when confronted by one, even if you don't want to, is listen. Because even in the new millennium, it's nothing for them to pull a gun on you, and apparently they still do dogs too. My niecey poo. They might have erased this from the history books by now, but it has happened. It's true. Auntie almost didn't stand down. I was blessed enough to have a loved one around to tell me what I already knew. And I feel like it's my responsibility to do the same with you. With her. I might need to tell her that I prefer M&Ms over Skittles and water is healthier than sweet tea, but if she happens to buy both and walk down the street, be sure to tuck them in her purse so that no one can see. To have a purse instead of pockets of her jeans, jacket, or hoodie, God forbid an officer being around whenever she reached for these things. Inform her that society is far from perfection, so be mindful of the things she wears. Because too much dark clothing on top of her already beautifully bold complexion could come off as intimidating to others who don't feel quite as gifted as she is. Or that as much as I don't want her to, if she happens to ever see a gun, the last thing you should do is run, or stand still, or lay down flat. That if a coward can't look you in your face, then they won't be afraid to shoot you in your back, and since you're black, the target is always there. How exactly do I explain to her that life has never been fair when some see the color of her skin or of the texture of her hair, but that is no excuse for her to ever feel limited? Because in all honesty, life is only as fair as we make it. Nothing will be willingly given to her, so when it comes to what she wants, she's got to step out on faith and take it. To tell her that no one on this earth could ever determine her worth, that what she sees in school or on TV could never compete against the artwork that she is, or the masterpiece she is destined to be, that her smile alone could paint the Sistine Chapel swell enough to make Michelangelo turn over in his grave. So materialistic matters amount to nothing against the gifts God gave her. When can I tell her that we have so much to discuss that I couldn't possibly fit it all into just one poem? She's a year old today, and I remember when she first learned to walk, but tomorrow is not promised, and I need to know, so I'm asking you, how soon is too soon for us to have this talk? Thank you so much. Now I have one last piece, also inspired by my niece, and the lines of the poem about her were actually written before the rest of the poem, and her lines don't even come to the end, but this little person is such a big deal to me. And it's titled, No Plan of Mine. Some of you might also be familiar with this one. I never heard God laugh before, till I tried to take over my life as if I'd blessed myself with it in the first place. I've been told that if you do want to hear God laugh, just tell him what you've got planned. The nerve of me. To think I knew what came next, as if he hadn't already ordered my steps before I even stepped foot on his turf, on this earth in his time, perfectly placed according to his plan, never mine, but it was up to me to find that out for myself. You see, he dropped a diagnosis to deter a determined dimwit of a driven heart, to hopefully jumpstart her enlightening epiphanies approximately 25 years down the way. See if she'd continue to follow him or pay more attention to what these doctors, these humans, these mortals have to say. See, they told me there's no cure for MS, but I think they lied. It was just up to me to find it. To find out that crying tears behind the word of man is a mistake, because I serve a God who has promised to never leave nor forsake me, and he never has. 'Cause see, way back when I had no friends and my silence was by choice, back when I had no confidence, no self-esteem, no voice, he saw fit to give me the gifts of an artist so that I may draw, from Crayola and coloring books to charcoal on canvases, so that I may sing like the caged bird Maya Angelou set free through her writing, so that I too may read and write, go from Dr. Seuss and Mother Goose to putting my own words to good use. So the words that I wrote became the words that I spoke. He gave me testimonies and reasons to speak, gave me perseverance, positivity, and the power to preach. And when I became too comfortable, too complacent, and had nothing to say, he knew how to take every last one of these gifts away, leaving me to see that I never need more than what he's given me. So when I couldn't write, read, sing, dance, or speak, he left me with my loved ones, so that I may see the dominion he's had over my life since the beginning. Blessed me with the title of Auntie by way of a beautiful niece, reminding me that even in my darkest times, I possess the ability to be a reflection of him. Because as painful as my days can be, I guarantee you that when it comes to baby girl, If a mountain is in her way, I will move it. If a canyon is in her way, I will fill it. If an ocean is in her way, I will drain it. If a fire is in her way, I'll put it out. If the winds are blowing too hard, I will shield her from them. And if this earth is spinning a little too fast for her, I will slow it down. The first time I held my niece, I held her with aching, shaking, hurting hands that now possess a power unknown to mankind. So when they tell me my memory will never be the same again, I will cite this piece for them. When they tell me what I can't do, I'll show them what my God can. And when they tell me that I have a crooked smile as if I had a stroke, I'll point out the fact that I still woke up this morning, and yes, I'm still smiling. You see, although their answers go by the books, they might never understand. My answer goes by only one book, and mine was no good. So I followed God's plan. Amen?
Amen.
Thank y'all so much.